Welcome to another GM Tips. GM Rick here, and we're still making that little route through the world of Golarion and the Inner Sea. And I really wanted to give this its due, just like I would any campaign. I'm going to do the same for Midgard and for others that are there. I think sometimes we as GMs just need that extra opinion from somebody who's been there, or maybe we've experienced it and we need a refreshing of it from somebody who's excited about it. I know, not every campaign setting is going to excite you. It's just not. And there's going to be many. I know Amara's Dawn. I look forward to talking about that one with Open Legend and giving a good what over on that, though. They've got a lot of supporters. I don't know how much more I can add to it. Same with Numenera and the Ninth World. I look forward to talking about that. I look forward to talking about a lot of good settings. I think, anything else, it just helps us when we get a little bit of a dive into something and get someone else's opinion on it. And, in a good way. So, where else in the Inner Sea can we go? Well, there's not a lot of material unfortunately, on Arcadia, Casmaron, Sarasant, and the most south parts of Garen, though they're going to eventually flesh that out, I think. So, where else we have is either the Crown of the World or the Dragon Empires. And the Dragon Empires is Tian. And again, you can pronounce it different. Probably the Paizo people go Tian Sha. I go Xia. I'm trying to keep to the Asian flavor of it. So, I really like Tian Xia and what they put on the Dragon Empires. I was a big fan of the Five Rings when it was around, and Kar-tur, or Kar-tur, I think it was. No. I'm trying to think of the one that was for Faerun. It was Kar something, and with a T. And I just don't remember it. And you guys are probably screaming it out in the background going, come on, Rick, this! You know this! But there was not enough fleshing out of it. It was kind of that open realm that nobody talked about. So, I'm glad they did a dive on it. Now, again, will they expand on it? I don't know. They have on some cities and some different places that are of interest that I think really interested Paizo. They went into the empire of the old realm Minkai. And Minkai is an interesting place with Kasai and some of the other areas. And think of Minkai as more of your Japanese flavor. It is much more your samurai and ninja and Orient flavor. But I think first you got to see the world itself of the Tian. And as you can see, lots of good places to go on Tian. But I want you guys to get a good look at it. Otherwise, if you don't get a good look at it, you're not going to be able to see the different places that you can go. And there's a lot of places that you can go. Tian is it's almost like a mini Asia smashed together into an empire. And you have a lot of different flavors in this realm. The overall empire, when it was a ruling empire, seemed to have a Japanese flavor, but then there was a breakdown over time. It kind of went to the point of where it disintegrated into more provincial type of ruling, and the different provinces had different types of rulers. Now, there's a lot of different races that are involved when it comes to it. The Tian races in general, there are a lot of Tian races, and we'll hit those last, the human races. But I want to hit some of the races that I think have been fleshed out over time by people like Everyman's Gaming, and that's Alex Agunas and his group. They did a great job of fleshing out the Kitsune and the Samsarans and the Weiyang. The Nagaji are another one that needs probably a little more fleshing out. Paizo does an okay job with it, and don't get me wrong, they go over it in both the Inner Sea races and in this guide here. So, Kitsune, the fox, trickster foxes, as I call them. A fox spirit that has the tricksterous nature that can morph between full-on human with a little bit of variance, so you know there's something quite not right about them, and they can go all the way into fox form. You see them a lot in the animes. You see the Nine Tails, especially a lot of Nine Tails represented in that, from Pokemon on up. But I think it gives you more of a kid's view of them. The Kitsune have a lot of strength. They are a very charismatic and very quick race. They aren't the strongest. Don't ask for them to be the physical strength of a party. Though in the animes they'll have you believe they're infinite strength. They're not. They're quick, and they're quick-witted. And they're very silver-tongued. So, what is it? Kami-sama Kiss, I think, has one of the best representations of it. With the Guardian, the Temple Guardian, who is a Kitsune. I like him. He's kind of a representation of the strength of that race and the smarts of them. Again, they have a lot to offer. The Nagaji. The Nagaji are basically the Pathfinder worlds and Paizo systems version, I think, of the Yuan-ti. Now, the nice thing about the Nagaji is that these snake-like humanoids or Komodo dragon-like humanoids are not necessarily evil like the Yuan-ti. The Yuan-ti, the serpent folk in Pathfinder cover a lot of the Yuan-ti's evilness. The Nagaji are not necessarily evil races. They're a much more thoughtful race, a strong race. Their strength and charisma is huge. Their intelligence, not so much. They're not your magic casters. They have much more brute force. In Nagajor, they were created by the Nagas in that province to be their servant race, their physical strength. But remember, not all Nagas are evil. Some people think the Nagas are horribly evil. They're not. There are evil among any race. And so the Nagas have both good and evil. And so are your Nagaji. Your Samsarans are your quasi-immortal humanoid spirit folk. They have a blue tint to their skin. And they're a very exotic and very almost ghost-like entity. And again, they believe that after death comes reincarnation and that the Samsarans are that. And so they believe that they just keep recycling in that mesh of souls to keep coming back. Very intelligent, very wise, not a great constitution when it comes to these creatures. But they're an interesting race, a very, very interesting race. And then you have your Tengus. Your Tengus are like the D&D Tenkus. They're a crow-like race, or avian race, humanoids with claw feet. And again, part of Japanese and Orient legend are Tengus. And they're a very quick and wise race, again, not very strong constitutionally, and often looked down upon. A lot of the empires and the ruling things abuse them and treat them as the third-class citizens. But Tengus have a rich culture and a richness to them like no other. And then you got the Weyang. The Weyangs are a mystical miniature human. They're kind of almost like a pixie or a brownie. They're a spirit folk, a fae folk, and they're very quick and smart, but not very wise in their years. So those are some of your non-human races of the Dragon Empires, and you'll see them all over Golarion. But they're very prominent in the Dragon Empires, in Tianxia. Now, the Tians. You've got several types of Tians that are on the face of Tianxia. And those are the Tian de Tangs. They're magically inclined people. They're fierce. They shave their heads and have a queue or a braid, a single braid. So they are a dark-skinned but relatively fair-eyed people, or fair-haired people. Or excuse me, dark hair, fair-skinned people. Your Tian Las are tall, muscular. They're in the harsh northern steppes. The Tian Las are more of your, almost a Mongol, but something like that. They're very hardy people. The Laws live in the unforgiving climates, and they have a lighter skin, and they eat mostly horses, and they raise horses, so they're a lot like the nomadic races of the steppes, on the Asian steppes. So those are your 10 Las. Your Mins come from Minkai, and those are much more, their skin is more of a shades of orange and yellow. It's kind of a mixed tan. They've got different colored eyes, very exotic eyes, the almond-shaped eyes, and they've got the brown or black hair as well. So they're an interesting people. Think of them like your Japanese. They're your Japanese Orient. Your 10 shoes. Your 10 shoes, I believe, are much more of the Chinese races or the Vietnamese races even a little bit. They're very numerous, and they're everywhere. They've got almond eyes and dark hair too. So I don't know. I almost want to believe that the Mins are a little bit different style of Japanese, and then the shoes are another style of Japanese because of the almond eyes. The Chinese, as you know, don't have the almond eyes on Earth. It's mostly either the Koreans or the Japanese. Your Sings are your trader races. They're very dark-skinned people, so I would say mostly like your Burmese, your Thai people. That is much more your Sings, and they're they're tattooing sort of people, so they believe they're much hardier, ruggedized people. And then, I'm sorry, your Huans. I forgot your Huans. Your Huans are definitely your Korean race people on this world. Again, very arts-oriented race, mid-shading of the skin. So they're an interesting mix. They give you basically 1, 2, 3, I forgot the Dans. The Dans, the Tian Dans, are your Vietnamese. Very much. And they're into sorcery and have a knack for it. They believe that they're part of the dragon blood. They speak Draconic as one of their native race languages. So they're interesting. So there's a lot of different races here. Sorry, Paizo, I kind of screwed it up. It's a morning and I need more of this. Alright, so you've got so many different provinces. Now, I'm going to point out some of the provinces that I think are much more interesting for travel and adventure. So bear with me as I go through it. Amanandar. Yes, Amandar. Amandar. That is an actual interesting place. With the downfall of the Longhua Empire, there was a lot of disarray. And so the Western Empire in the East became a Tal'Doran Empire. One of the Crusades made it to Amandar, and it was a basic thing that they settled an area and put New Apara in there for the Tal'Dorans. So the Tal'Dorans actually have branched all the way out as far as Tian. That's pretty darn far when you think about it. So you want to think about how pervasive the Tal'Doran Empire was at one time. It was very. And so you have the 8th Army of Expedition that basically sailed the fleet into the Sea of Ghosts. And General Orfiria Amanandar was the one that sailed it. Mini GM in the background. Sorry. And so they colonized that area of the world. It was kind of like, remember when the first Westerns came over to Asia and how that influence was? This is kind of that influence. It's a very lawful empire, just like Taldor is. And it is a mix of religions. You see some of the Eastern gods in there, like Shizuru and Irori. But Abadar and Pharasma are also in there. And so it's kind of a unique, different flavor. It's East meets West, and it's a mix of the cultures. And so it is an interesting place to go and adventure. My party, actually in the last one, in the Carrying Crown, got thrown over into there by one of the baddies. Norgorber was helping out the Whispering Tyrant, and he tossed them over into Tian, and they ended up into the territory of Amanandar, and they were able to get a little bit of a taste of what's over there. So I think that's an interesting place. There is a whole Western Empire there. So for a group to come over and experience, if you're not from there, and especially if your PCs don't want to be from there, they want to be a mix of life, this is a great place to take them and put them as a starting point. I like Chuyi. Chuyi is an interesting place. It is the place of Oni. And if you know the Japanese religion on Oni, or the Asian religion of the Oni are your ogres, giants, and all kinds of nasty little spirits. So this is an empire that is ruled by giants and Oni, but there's also Kitsune, Samsarans, Tian-las, Tian-mins, Tian-shus, but they're much more slaves in this empire. So they're enslaved and beholden to the Oni. Your major religions are Fumiyoshi and General Susumu, and let me tell you, nasty deities. They are the not quite Rovagug, but they are the Zankuthon and the Lamashtu of the East. And so this is where this is in this empire. And this, if you want to go into a place where the Oni rule, and they are the tough guys, this is where you go. And so, I love their banner. Their banner is just very unique. And so, keep that in mind. Now, there are the Darklands over on this side, too. The Darklands are kind of like the Inner Sea. They're very diverse on this side. And in this area, you've got a lot of brain oozes, cave giants, denizens of Lang. You've got clockworks and hobgoblins, and Oni and ratfolk and Sagathi and troglodytes and underworld dragons. So you don't see as much Drow and Duergar. You see more of the reptoids and other dark races over here. It's an interesting place to explore. If you've explored the Darklands on the other side of the world, where Duergar and mongrel folk and mutants and other things, Enderfan and there's so many others that they're over there. This is a different Underdark. Very different and very much more unique. So keep that in mind when you're looking at places in the East that you want to go. And again, not going to do as much of a dive in here. There's other nations. You can take a look at them. I'm going to the more fun ones to throw you into. I really like the Forest of Spirits. The Forest of Spirits, let's see, where is it? Gotta find where they stuck it. There it is. So up here, you'll run into this one, especially in certain adventure paths into the Dragon Empire. The Forest of Spirits has the anime-style forest spirits. Remember the ones with the tilting heads that were in Miyazaki's, what's the one with the wolf girl? I should remember this one, but, and I know it, it's just a morning. I'm having brain freeze. You guys are probably also, Princess Mononoke. That's the one. Princess Mononoke. The forest spirits like Princess Mononoke. So you've got a lot of Fae, Kami, Kitsune, and Oni that are in this region. Though it's funny because some of the religions are Western in here. You got, of course, Daikitsu, and you have Desna. Moon goddess. Now, again, Fumiyoshi for the Oni, and Sun Wukong. So it's not necessarily all evil in this region, but it's a very forestial area. There are humans, there are foresters out there, but it's much more sparse. It's much more your native environment. So like Princess Mononoke, where the forest is still very king in that area. And so for players to go and adventure, lots of primal, fae, and interesting things in this area. So keep that in mind when you're looking at places to start in that side of things. It's a great place. It's a little bit different from civilized Tianxia. I like also Hangul. Hangul is a little bit interesting. It's the tundra of the horse lords. So it's much more of your Tian laws. It is much more of your Mongol horse tribes. And there are, again, not as many civilized cities, though there is some trying to get in there. You've got a lot of giants, kitsunis, samstrands, and you do have a mix of a little bit of Tian mints. The largest city is Ordu Anganahai, which is more kind of like a temporary capital where people go in and out. There is some settling, but a lot of people live the way of the horse in that area. So again, the banner is a horse lord banner right here. All right, so I'll hit a couple more places that I think are really kind of interesting. Goka, the way to the west. It has the largest city of Goka. The Goka is the major city that is kind of the Tokyo, or at one time was Kyoto. It was the major city of trade and commerce, and it is for that area coming from the west. So the first place you're going to come into that has civilization that's going to welcome you is Goka. And Goka has an interesting mix. It's a 300,000 populace, so it tells you it's the most prominently large city in all of these lands. And there's a reason. You've got humans, you've got Asimars, you've got dwarves, elves, gnomes, halflings, half-elves, half-orcs, kitsune, nagaji, samsarans, tengus, and wayangs. So it is a mixing pot of all the races. There's no exceptions here. And Goka is ruled by Nayan Fei and her advisors. It's a very lawful city, but it's a very open city. They speak many languages. So Common Taldane is spoken here. Kelish is spoken here. Vudrani is spoken here. So Kazmaran languages. So Kazmaran even has an influence here. All of your embassies and different things are going to be there. So those are some of the places. I hope you like this. There's going to be other places I'll hit later on a side video of this. But Rick M. the GM and RickMo45 at Gmail. Thanks.